Hi, my name is Greg Campbell, Chief Architect at Acaveo. Today I want to walk you through the basic usage of the Acaveo Data Classifier product. We're going to start from the point where the product has just been installed and we've performed the basic search URL configuration. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create some policies, and then we'll go ahead and re-index our content to apply those policies. And then finally I'll show you some of the value adds that you get out of Data Classifier in terms of leveraging those policies. So to begin, let's go to the policies node and let's create a few policies. So the first policy that I'm going to create will be to look for phone numbers. So I'll call it phone numbers. And a policy has two components to it: a filter, which is how you define what items will meet the policy, and then optionally you can specify some additional actions. For the purposes of this basic video, we're just going to look at actually setting up the filter. So what I'm going to do is apply a very simple filter expression to look for phone numbers in the body of the content. So this is whatever SharePoint is indexing as the body of the content. If it's a document or the body of an email message, that would be found under this body property. And the expression that I want to use, I'll just hit the browse button there. This brings up a regular expression builder for me, and there's a bunch of preloaded templates, and for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to leverage several of these templates. So the first one that we'll leverage, we'll use the phone number. So there's 10-digit phone number, so I'll just double click that. There's the regular expression. There's a validator here that lets me double check my regular expression. We'll get into more details on that in a later video. So for now, we have our regular expression. I'll hit OK, and I'll just accept that as my first policy. So Data Classifier goes out, then it does a synchronization, and this is where it pushes the policy changes out to the Content Enrichment Web Service and gets the environment prepared to start leveraging that policy. So I'm going to create a couple of more policies here, just really quickly. The first one will be for social security numbers. And again, I'm just going to leverage a template. So I'll go over to the filter and I'll select the body. And I'll find the social security number template and I'll select that. And I'll do one last policy that will look for credit card numbers. So I'll wait for the synchronization to complete. Then I'll add my new policy. Credit card numbers. And I'll just select the body. And I'll select the credit card number regular expression. Okay, so after this synchronization completes, I've got my three policies created. They're set up. So now if I want to get these policies to take effect and to find which items in my environment meet these policies, that content needs to be re-indexed. So the integration point for Data Classifier is as a part of the indexing process, and that means in order for us to apply a policy to an item, SharePoint has to try to index it. So right now, at this point, anything new that SharePoint indexes will have these policies applied. But if I want to also apply these policies to older content, I need to go ahead and run full crawls in my environment. So if I go to the search service application, and I'm just going to jump to the content sources, and I'm just going to kick off a full crawl on all of my content sources. As you can see, I've got three content sources. I have two file shares and my SharePoint farm. So I'll just go ahead and I'll start these crawls. And then I'm going to let these crawls run, and I'll pick up the video as soon as these crawls have completed, and we'll go through what the results are. Okay, so as you can see, my full crawls have completed. All of my content has been re-indexed, and that means that my policies have been applied. So I'll go back to the Acaveo Data Classifier product, and now we can start to look at what are some of the ways that we can use these policies. What does it give us having applied these policies? So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to say update policy stats now. So I'm run this job, and what this is essentially going to do is it's going to go out, and for each of these policies it's going to run a query against the search index and say how many items meet this policy, and then it'll collect some statistics into the Data Classifier application database that we can use to gain some information about our policies. So this updates policy stats. It's configured by default to happen automatically. So if I go to the configuration node, there's an update policy stats schedule, and you can see by default when you install the product, it creates a nightly job that runs at 1 a.m. every morning. You can go ahead and change this however you want, and you're always free to go and do what I just did, which is update your policy stats manually. But what does this give us? If I select a policy now, I get to see the statistics about that policy, and I get to see both how many items are currently in it. In this case, for our phone number policy, for example, there's about 9,600. I get to see the change in that number of items in that policy over time. In this case, since we've only run the policy essentially once, or it's only existed for a single day, there's not a lot of interest here, right? These are all the same number, and that would be the case for the other ones as well. So we got 52 social security numbers and 143 credit cards that were found. And again, also this policy history would start to look a lot more interesting over time once we've run this consistently for a period of weeks or months. You'd really start to be able to see any changes in your environment with respect to items meeting these policies. So that's the first thing that we get, is this sort of broad overview on a policy by policy basis. I can also jump to the dashboard node, and I can get sort of a more holistic view, everything on one screen, of what's going on in my environment. So what I get essentially at the top left is I get a summary of all of my policies, which ones are dominating my environment. I can see in this case it's the phone number one that has the most. I can see its quick history over time, and I also get this pie chart over here, which again, it really lets me visualize which policies are dominant. And then I see a history, a multi-series history down here as well of what's happened in my environment. So I get this view of what the policy breakdown is within my environment. Probably the next thing that you're going to be interested in is, okay, I know I've got 143 items that potentially have credit card numbers in them. What are they? I actually want to see these items. And there's a couple of ways you can do that. The first way I'll show you is to use the integrated search node within the product. This essentially is just a front end to the SharePoint search query web service, but it's extremely powerful. And I'll go into details on this in a future video in terms of some of the things that you can do here. That's fairly unique. There are not a lot of other products that are exposing the power of the SharePoint search product as well as this product is able to do. But so what I can do, if I'm just interested in seeing which items meet the credit card policy, I can just go ahead and say restrict to policy, and I can select the policy I want, credit card numbers, from the drop down list, and I can just run the search. So this will go ahead and run the search, pulls back the 143 results and tells me exactly where they are. Like I say, I can do a number of things with this in terms of searching within my search results, filtering, setting up advanced logic trees for filtering. There's a ton of things, and I will go into detail on some of this functionality in a future video. But this is the first basic way where you can start to see what are the things that have met a policy. The other option that you have is you can actually use the SharePoint search directly. So if I go to my SharePoint site and I want to run a search, what I can do is structure my search to search for the special property that we tag items with when they meet a policy. So if I go back to DataClassifier for a second and I go up to the policies node, and we were interested in the credit card numbers, well, that has something called ADC policy ID column, and we see it's number 6 here. So what I can do is if I go back to the search, if I do a property search on that policy, ADC policy IDs, and I just say colon and then the number 6, which was the ID that we got from DataClassifier, and I run the search, okay, it'll pull back the 3 results that happen to be in this SharePoint site that meet that credit card policy. So these are the documents that have some set of characters in them that meet the criteria that they could be a credit card number. So that's the other way that you can go about searching this. And of course, you can add other property restrictions in here as well, and you could just add additional keywords. This is simply a straight SharePoint product search or property search. So you can structure your queries however you want for that. So that's the other way that you can go about uncovering which are the items that meet your policies. So future videos, what I want to get into, I'll be covering advanced policy creation, setting output properties as a part of your policies, and eventually we're going to get into probably what's an obvious question, which is, okay, I found all this stuff. Now I want to take action on it. How do I remediate things meeting these policies? And that's where Acavao's flagship product, Smart Information Server, comes into play. So watch for a video that'll go through how that integration works and how you can leverage the data classifier policies directly as a part of your information governance strategy within Smart Information Server. Thanks for watching.